So let me start over. I'm trying to get, let's refresh, get all this thing going. So this is just a kind of a cheesy, pretty, I mean, it looks pretty good, but it's, I'm trying to build an escrow program where it allows a user to connect, they connect with the wallet, and then they can create or initialize an escrow. Basically, just as simple as it is, just they choose a token that they want to exchange for another. So they take an existing token that is currently in the wallet and specify how much of that token they're willing to exchange, and then they specify the token that they wish to receive and the amount that they wish to receive. And so right now, this works if they initialize this escrow. They can initialize it. We're using, this is Solana and Rust. So there's a, where did I put it? So there's an app. Let's see, yeah, here. This is basically, there's an actual example of this, kind of a starter bit of code on the Anchor docs and it's pretty good, though it's not complete and it's not really finished. And I'm been trying to explore and expand on this, but you have this Rust program. It's a Solana program actually, but we're using the Anchor framework to build it. And essentially we allow the user to, a few key instructions. One is to initialize, the escrow, and you're specifying, specify the out amount. So for example, the out amount and the in amount, how much do they want to exchange for a particular token. Yeah. And we build up and initialize the actual escrow account. And what happens to initialize is that it actually literally takes that token amount out of the initiator's wallet and moves it into a PDA. So we create a program derived. We use PDA account, so a program derived address account, I should say, and that it stores some basic information about the escrow. But then inside of it, we also have an actual token account that is associated with the token or mint that the user wishes to, that he or she passed. So they want to basically, it may make sense to come over here. So this is further along. I haven't recorded up to this point. There's been a lot in between, a lot of debugging. But essentially, if I connect with a Phantom wallet, you have an address. And I've got quite a bit of logs happening in the console. But essentially, because I'm on LocalNet, I'm using the Solana test validator. So I'm on the LocalNet using the test validator that we have available to basically run my local blockchain, if you will. So because of that, I need to create some tokens. I need these dev wallets. Right now they're pretty much empty, and I need some tokens. So what I do right now is my first steps is to build and actually create some tokens, and I approve some transactions here, you'll see. And now we have a couple of mints. I've called them, right now they're just X and Y. But then I need to create associated accounts for these mints. So step 2 is to approve some stuff. And I've got some wallets, one using Phantom, one using SolFlare for development. So I've kind of hard-coded it right now where when I mint these tokens, I approve some transactions. Approving 4 times now. 2 associated token accounts per wallet. So now my Phantom wallet and my Solflare wallet, they both have associated token accounts, but they don't have any supply. Like there's nothing in them. We haven't actually minted to increase the supply and transfer some new tokens. So I do that. And this is not part of the real escrow. This is just part of me testing this locally. So now I've given myself 3 tokens of each, where the raw amounts are, I specified these tokens, these mints have 8 decimal values, yada, yada, yada. Again, this is more or less following what the Anchor docs kind of give you as like a sample escrow program, though it's not complete. So I'm expanding on it. So I've got some tokens in my wallet. And I'm trying to build this kind of swap UI where as the initiator and cut. All right, so what we have is, so I've minted some tokens, but as it currently is, I've got a bug where my UI doesn't like refresh my wallet balance. So I have to kind of do this weird like disconnect and then reconnect. And some of this stuff just goes away. You'll see. Now I have like I'm trying to debug this crap. I've actually have a working program that I've done too much with. So let me get out of here. I'm gonna shut this down. Refresh, come over here, go to my validator. Shut this down, run this, and let's build it. Run some logs just to kind of be going in the background. All right, so we have some stuff running, and we can see that it's refreshed, and now I don't have like any tokens. So let's go through the process again. Create. It's going to pop up some approved transactions. I'm creating the tokens, creating the associated token accounts for my 2 dev wallets. One's Phantom, one's Solflare. Then I need to mint the actual token, so increase their supplies. And now I have some supply, and now I have some tokens. I have some money to work with besides just SOL, because SOL is used a little bit differently. It's not quite like, my understanding is not. It's the native token, so it's not a SPL token. It's not by the like token program per se, or maybe it is, but it's a little bit different. I mean, it has a public key and all that, but it's treated a little bit differently. So now I've got some tokens. This is kind of like just pre-testing. So currently I have this UI where it's like if it reads tokens in the wallet, then I should be able to select and choose a token. I haven't fixed that yet. So what I have, I'll show you. I'm using SvelteKit, and it has the let's see, layouts for escrow. And so what I've got is I'm trying to like fetch some data beforehand, and then run a little get parsed token accounts by owner. This seems to work. So it allows me to basically pass in a connection, which I have a store, a workspace store in SvelteKit that captures that and all the connection and provider issues. This is an Anchor program, so it's a little bit different than just native Solana program, but using the Anchor library. So it's gonna, on the wallet connection, this is the layout, so this is gonna happen first. It's gonna trigger first, it's gonna find the connected wallet, and it's going to essentially, what I have is another store called wallet token account store. It's just basically a store that's an array, and it's just keeping track of all this account data, this token account data. And each object has an account property that has the parsed account data, account info and all that such, and then another one has the public key, which is the associated token account address in this wallet. So I'm going to go back. This again is in the layout. So this happens before the user hits escrow. This is kind of a layout that Svelte has. So you can kind of run some code here that will be ran first before the actual page route itself. So what I've got here is because I'm using a store, I've got basically I'm doing a check here if the workspace is ready, and the program inside of the workspace store is ready, as well as the wallet. Make sure that the wallet has been connected. It's not in some connecting state in the wallet store. So I've done some looking around. This seems to be a pretty good criteria. And once all this stuff is good, I'm using SvelteKit's reactive variables and statements to kind of keep track of this. So if the wallet is ready for fetch and the workspace program is ready, then I do stuff. And now what I've done, I have this program here, and I've got quite a lot of different programs in this. I've got NFTs, PDAs, some other little programs, some voting, and now this escrow. So that looks a little bit different. So what I'm doing is, because Anchor generates this IDL, it's basically after you write your program, it will, in Rust, in Anchor, and you build it and compile it and all that stuff, and you deploy it, Anchor will at the same time take all of your structures and stuff, and they build this handy IDL, JSON, and TypeScript files that replicates your instructions and account structures and yada yada yada. So it's got all these nice details. Well, the cool thing is that you can kind of swap between them using this workspace store. And again, this workspace store and this Anchor connection provider, this is part of a package that's up there. I'll share with you later. But basically, we're setting everything what is good with the workspace and the program. Once it's good, then I want to connect and get the token accounts in the existing wallet by passing the wallet pub key and the connection, and it will do that. And it will then, inside that function, we saw that it will populate a wallet token account store with those token accounts. And then we also get a balance store for the user for their SOL balance. It's a little bit different. You can't use parsed token accounts by owner to grab your SOL token balance. So back to this, after I've created these tokens, it's not automatically refreshing. I could build that up, but right now this is just part of, like, before I can even initialize anything, I need to populate and give my dev wallets some temporary tokens to work with. So this is how I've come up with it. I'm sure there's better ways. I could just do it all in one call on load or something like that, and ignore all this UI. But this has helped me slowly kind of build and go through the steps and see what's kind of happening. So now if I disconnect and reconnect, we're going to see here in just a second, my UI is going to populate and have like a little swap drop down. Yeah, so now this happened, and I've got this new addition here where it's got this little drop down menu. I've got my wallet connected, and here in the logs we've got some, new values. So I have this form state and such, but if I click on here, now I've got these two token, these are mint addresses actually. These are mints addresses of the tokens that we have in this wallet. So for example, if I click on this one, it shows that I have a balance of 0, but here is the token. See this, I just spliced the first 4 characters, so I could, eventually it'd be nice to get like actual symbols and stuff, so it looks a little cleaner, but you select here and you have, this is the full output of the public address, the mint address of the token, but I have 0 balance with that token. And if I go to here, it updates, here's the mint address, and it shows that I have 3, which makes sense because I just minted myself as the seller, as the initiator. I gave myself 3 tokens of token X, essentially, because I want to exchange some for token Y. That's basically where we're getting at. So this is kind of my out token. If I look over here, I've got a store. It's an ugly, ugly store right now, but it's just trying to keep track of stuff that's happening. So I've got in token details and out token details. This was before I've got X and Y token details. I was trying to do some other stuff, but I'm leaving it for now because there's just a lot of debugging with this. So, but currently it shows like out token raw balance. So this is the raw amount based off the number of decimals that the token has. So out token, there's a field out token mint. It's a public key, which is equal to this EXRJ blah, blah, blah. I have 3. This mint has 8 decimals. Well, it's base 10, so I can do, this gives me the raw amount, which is really important because in my program, let's go back, where was I? That's my stores, token store and seller store. I'm going to find non-custodial. Do lib. Yeah, split over here. So this out amount right here and the in amounts, they are Rust types of unsigned 64 bytes or bits, 64 byte. I don't know. So they're types unsigned U64. So bigger numbers, so we can store quite a bit there. But when running it through all of this stuff, on the JavaScript TypeScript side, this is I need to pass these out amount and in amount arguments, instruction arguments up here, need to be passed as type big number or bin. So the raw amounts matter, because if I only pass 3, then it literally is treating it as 3 in terms of raw amount. But 3 is not not in reality the raw amount. It's more of this, what is this, like 300 million, total tokens. So I pass it as a big number to initialize the escrow. And so getting these amounts to add up has been a real challenge, because initially I just hard coded. I've had like 2 tokens and I exchange 1 for 1, whole numbers, and it would work just fine. But I wanted to expand on this and be able to allow the user to enter decimals. This is very much like a normal exchange, so enter decimals, like 1.25 in exchange for 0.37, So raw amounts matter, which means I need to get the mints decimals value. Otherwise, if I don't know the decimals, then I don't know what it represents, how to like compute correctly and make that conversion. So where are we? So that said, if I wanted to initialize an escrow, I have kind of what I've been doing is like we initialize all this stuff. I've got some handlers to check. It's not complete, but the idea is like if I take in 1.3, scroll down, my stores, I have some handlers on input change, like this out token amount handler, like whenever that input changes, I bound it to some values with Svelte as well. Anytime this drop down, this select menu changes, I've got a handler to refetch, you know, the balance for this token and its properties, yada yada yada, and then I'm printing out some things, out token associated token account address right here, and the mint address. So seller store out token, if I open up seller store, it's got a bunch of nulls, but for our purposes, it's correctly updating this seller store with the values that we're going to use to initialize the escrow. So I need the public key for this other. This is going to be like the token that I want to get, is this 2HT2 token. So in order to do that, it's already up here. I think I can type in here. Yeah. And I've got some checks on here. If I go exceed, like add some spacing, it's trimming us up, but I have some checks here like end token. So this field is called the end token mint. Has invalid length of 48 characters. I learned that Solana public keys have a range of like 35 to 40, or maybe it's 32 to 35 or 45 or something like that. So anyway, I've got like a little bit of a range going on. Very, very basic validation, but this all is easily broken. I haven't spent enough time on that yet. Just trying to get it to work. So now that we have a token, again, every time there's an input, I have a handler that is handle create. Oh wait, wrong program. So it's like handle end token mint address input. And so here I've got this like little function that's basically, you know, checking if it's an invalid length for a mint address, then, you know, just quit, return. Otherwise, we'll set the end token mint to be the mint, and then we do some checks. So remember, we fetched that store at the beginning. It's got all of our token accounts in there. And currently, I've got that somewhere printed in my logs. This gets a little crazy, not gonna lie. Maybe I'm not logging it just yet. But basically, when I initially do that, we have some tokens to work with, right? So, yeah. So I'm trying to see like if it's connect. So I'm trying to get rid of 1.3 of these tokens in exchange for say 0.4 decimals. I'm practicing decimals because turns out big numbers don't, like the type BN does not work with with decimals. So I'm giving kind of like a UI amount, like what users would normally put. Like I need to pass, 1.3 tokens or 25.7 tokens. But then behind the scenes, I have to handle this kind of conversion using the actual tokens decimals and raw amounts to make the conversion. So if I enter in 0.4 and everything looks good, if I go to the seller store now, shows in token amount. It's 0.4. You notice that the in token raw amount, it's about to get set. When I click on this, it will do a quick conversion of, using this in token decimals along with the amount to compute and set the raw amount. But you'll see that my out token of 1.3, it now has a out token amount of 1.3, but it also has the raw amount equivalent. So yeah, so this is that, and things are kind of populating down here. This is just from visual. But one of the problems I've been having is my buyer. My buyer is not, as I'm trying to add and expand on this, it's starting to break, obviously, because it's a more complicated program. So yeah, so what I've got here is like, I'm about to hit a init. Well, I have a function called, and I've got lots of nodes, but this handle initialize escrow accounts, basically checking if the escrow exists right away, or if it's missing any required inputs. Obviously, we want to be done with that. And yeah, so we can like initialize it, but at the very end of this function, I'm trying to set the buyer store values, because this is just hacky right now, because like basically I'm gonna initialize it and I get my approve, and yay, it works. Okay, so now it approved, so the initializing is fine from the seller side. Obviously, I can clear my UI. There's a lot of things left to do. I could cancel, which works, and it'll just completely just actually close the Solana account, and allows me to kind of reinitialize, but my UI gets all jacked up. But what I'm trying to do is accept. So in order to accept, I need to change, I need to, up here, I need to disconnect, and for the purposes of on another screen, I'm going to unlock my SolFlare wallet real quick. Get my password and all that jazz, but and unlock that. Now I have that unlocked, so now I can come back over here and select SolFlare, and we'll do an extension. And so now I have a completely different wallet here, yeah? And notice this get parse token accounts. This happened in the layout file, so if I open this up, it's showing my existing tokens or my token accounts in my new wallet. So if you look into account, data, parsed, info, this particular one, account 1, with this mint and such, I don't have any of that. So that's like my that's the equivalent of this one, this EXRJ. This is the token that I'm about to receive if I accept the exchange from the buyer's point of view. So I've logged in as a buyer, and I see that this escrow is available, and I'm like, oh, someone's trying to exchange 1.3 of EXRJ, and they're looking for 0.4 of 2HT2 token. I've got that. I can do that, and I have it right here. Obviously, I'm going to improve this, but when they connect, here's my token, and it shows that I've got 3 of them, but raw amount is here. And this is all stuff that you get from this get parse token accounts by owner method that I'm running in the layout from my escrow page. So I've got it. Yeah, it's looking good. Problem is that going back and forth and doing all this, I've discovered that my buyer store that I was using to kind of do the accept was losing some of its state. So let's see. Okay, buyer store after. Buyer store. Just trying to make sure that I have. This is, yeah. So it's got a bunch of public keys in these in and out tokens. I guess I could print those out a little bit better, but as long as now from this side, basically from a buyer's standpoint, the token that that the buyer is going to get in to receive, it's about to, the in token amount that's going to get from this exchange would be 1.3. Its associated token account was already created initially when I first did all this stuff. So it has that account. Obviously, I need to make that better. But now, the out token account and so from the buyer standpoint, what token does it need to pay? So that I've kind of named it out. The out token amount for the buyer is 0.4, which makes sense because the in token amount for the seller was 0.4. It's this token. In token mint should be, it's in public key right here, but it should be this 2H2, T2. So yada, yada, yada. I have a balance. I don't have any balance in my store, so I don't know if this is going to work. Amount is how much we're expecting from this exchange. So I'm expecting 1.3 of the in token of this token after the exchange, and I'm expecting to be deducted 0.4 of the out token. But I don't think this is going to work because it needs, in order to accept, I need to have some numbers. Right now they're null. So if I go back over to my program, and here's my whole accept trade, it's looking, we need to pass it the accounts. Well, we have the accounts actually, because I have the associated token account for both the seller and buyer, both in and out. So I feel like, okay, maybe we're good. It's been lately working on this front end a lot. So you have, so we pass in those values, public keys and such. Yeah, and then double check that our escrow, after we do this accept, double check that the balance is updated, and then I just update some stores essentially to kind of for state purposes, just to make the UI a little bit cleaner. But I don't know, let's try it. So I don't have the balances here, but if I hit accept, okay, this is encouraging. Oh, this looks like it's going to work. So look, here's my account. I'm signing the transaction. It's a simulation. This is what I like about Solflare for development purposes. Even like these little dummy tokens that we create. So here it is, 2HT2. It's telling us going to deduct that amount and increase the EXRJ token by 1.3. Raw transaction, like, looks pretty good. I like about Solflare is that it will show these local host tokens that you create. I can't seem to see that with Phantom, so this has been helpful. So if I hit approve, hey, ta-da, nice. So that was my problem, was that using stores, Svelte stores, to kind of keep track of this stuff, which they're super powerful, but somewhere in the process, I had accidentally was losing track of the buyer's associated token account, the addresses. So my buyer store before was completely null, like the in token mint or the in token ATA associated token accounts were both like null. Same with the out token. So that was causing errors. I wasn't able to do that. So now, let's see, in token amount, in token balance. Yeah, this is still old. Like this state is stale. Like I got to figure out a better way of like, you know, obviously need to reset my stores and stuff. But basically, my wallet now should have, you know, it's got some tokens now. This is interesting. So this whole raw amount thing is a pain. Like that's why I've been, that's what I'm in the process of doing. So this is my first time to actually see this be successful after adding, allowing the user from the UI to pick and choose tokens that exist in their wallets. Since doing that and being able to add like decimal values and stuff, it's been a real pain. And I'm still obviously working on it. But I'm glad that it successfully passed and created the escrow. However, one issue though is that the out token amount was supposed to be 0.4. Oh wait, no, this is looking good actually. So the out token amount that was required from the buyer to complete this exchange makes sense. So they got rid of 0.4 of this out token, and their balance is now updated. It went from 3. Originally there was 3 of those tokens, and now they have 2.6. That looks pretty good. I'm curious what my seller, if it shows. See, I haven't finished up all the I don't think I've completed all the raw amount stuff yet. But from my seller, it was getting rid of this, the out token for it was they were paying 1.3 to receive 0.4 of the in token. Okay, so now their new balance is 0.4. It's pretty good. It's looking pretty good. In token raw amount. Okay, I see that I'm not computing the raw balance, but I have the balance here. So what I could do is like again 0.4, and because the mint itself has 8 decimals, so like essentially 8 zeros. I could do this 0.4, this balance, times, and then 10 to the power of 8. So it allows me to kind of build up what would be originally, in this case, it would actually be equal to this. It would be the same. But you can imagine if my original balance, you know, maybe I already had like 4.5 of these in tokens and I'm just trying to get some more, then my balance would be different. This just happens to be because it started from 0. It's going to be the same. But yeah, okay, so this is looking pretty good. So the in token raw balance is kind of left up in the air. Yeah, so, I mean, not bad, not bad. So if I go, you notice like this form state, like all these things are not updating correctly. This is looking, you know, there's things I need to do better from the front end, but for the most part, like that escrow and exchange was successfully created and completed. That said, as I've connected to this one, if I go here, yeah, I'm just clicking through. Doesn't seem like it's really, it hasn't, you know, this isn't updated my balance at all for the tokens. So some work to do there. Yeah, but that's just more front end stuff. But ideally, what I'd like to do is have the ability to create multiple escrows. I think it would be fun to allow a user to come in and just kind of set up and initialize a bunch of different escrows. And I'd also need to try doing an exchange where it involves SOL for, say, another token. Right now, they're escrow PDAs. So the escrow that we create when we handle all this stuff is, let's see, show you when we initialize this in Anchor, you have your different instruction contexts essentially. So you build like a struct here, and I have this initialize struct, and we're using Anchor's tools to initialize this escrow account. So this is an on-chain account right here, and we use the init kind of keyword. We have some of these constraints that we can add inside, and this is very handy from Anchor. They make development quite a bit easier, less stuff to kind of boilerplate, although yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's been really helpful for me because using just native Solana, some good tutorials on it, but boy oh boy, there's a lot of stuff to go through, and it can get kind of very verbose. But I mean, this stuff is not easy, at least for me. So Anchor has been very helpful. But one of the things here, though, is like I'm using a PDA. So like we're initializing this escrow account, and it's going to be of type escrow. So I look here, and it's got, you know, this is a custom struct account. You know, this is where we're storing account data for this escrow that we just created. Okay. Got the buyer and the bump for the PDA that we store is pretty convention. What's the out mint? So what's the out, you know, what's the public key of the out token from the seller's perspective, you know, and the amount that they are paying. What's the token that the seller initializer intends to receive in exchange, and how much, and just some booleans here that I've added, just like, is this escrow active still, and have they exchanged? So if I go to like escrow store, after doing that, I have another Svelte custom store. It's keeping track of this stuff. And yeah, you'll see like after we've done that exchange, it shows that has exchanged is now true and is active as false. So like I envision being able to create multiple escrows. People could kind of log in and see what they have, like, you know, see what's available, and exchange if they'd like. But using PDAs, you need to come up with like a unique seeds. You need some unique seeds to uniquely identify it. So I've got a seed prefix that we've added. That's just, you know, and then the seller key. So this is the seller's wallet. So the connected wallet. In this case, I go back to my Phantom dev. So it would be this like 2B's, you know, their public key as a string. And what else? That's it. So the problem is that these seeds, the way that this is designed, limits to, I can only have one active escrow account, one initialized escrow account at a time, because the PDA that's derived using these seeds, prefix that I've come up with, plus the user's, the seller's wallet address, that can only, there's only one of the, you know, I can't create multiple using these seeds, so I need to come up with like one other seed, you know, like I could, basically what's missing here is like I need like another seed that's like escrow ID, you know, and it's like just a number, like 1, 2, 3 in the most basic way. Could be a possible solution. So, but in order to do that, that's a whole nother deal, because I've got, I need to rework this program to enable that. There may be other better ways, but yeah, that's for another day. So here's my program. It's looking okay. There's obviously only I understand it at this point. It's not like user friendly, because there's a bunch of just stuff that I'm displaying just for helping me to develop it. But yeah, it's working. So pretty cool. So I mean, there's some work I got to do. What do I want to do? I've got, I can reset. I need to restart my, because my program has, only allows for one escrow PDA, because the seeds have to be unique, and currently it's just like a little prefix plus the user's wallet address. So I need something to be a little bit more unique, like a incrementer ID value of some sort. But so that's something I need to do. So in the meantime, every time I need to test this or run this, I have to actually close down the Solana test validator. I'm running it on a MacBook with an M1 processor, so I had to install and run it a kind of a particular way, but it more or less works. I can get the logs going after I build and deploy. I've got a bunch of different programs. Yeah, so let's go back to what do I need to do. So my UI is all kinds of messed up. Like, it just is. So if I connect, it picks up. Right now, when we first, in my layout, it tries to get the token accounts by owner, but it comes back empty right now because this is on localhost. It's got nothing. This app, this little starter is from the Scaffold Light. These guys, not that it would link me there, but you can find this. It's for SvelteKit and Solana. It's a nice little scaffold app. They have this home and then this basics, kind of shows you how to do some basic stuff using. And what's really nice about this is that it has the wallet adapters. It has a store. It uses the whole Solana wallet adapter, but it creates a Svelte store that kind of handles all that, as well as a workspace store specifically for Anchor Solana program. So Solana program is developed in the Anchor framework, which is just amazing. I've got a bunch of different programs that I've been experimenting with, voting, minting NFTs, PDAs in specific. I've kind of been slowly working through a lot of these. But you'll notice here, this program, because of Anchor, this IDL that Anchor provides whenever you build and deploy, whenever you build a program, each program will get a unique its own IDL. So what I mean by that, if I go to my app here, I've just got this one big directory, just kind of keeping track of stuff. App is all the front end stuff using SvelteKit that has powered this. And then programs, each of these directories are unique, separate programs created with Anchor. And so NFTs, non-custodial, these are just a kind of a combination of some that I found on the Anchor docs, also the Solana labs, or there's lots of good stuff out there. And so I've been kind of just taking these and working through them and expanding on them a little bit. But as you do this, each program, whenever you build and whatnot, you get this target IDL. And so each program, thanks to Anchor, gives you this document, this JSON IDL. So if I do on-chain or non-custodial, and I'm using Lunar Vim, it's quite handy if you like NeoVim, but you don't want to mess around with all the custom configurations. I really like Vim, NeoVim, just in general, just as it's a fun experience to edit and write and explore code, but still learning that as well. So, but you'll see this IDL gives you, here's the instructions. Well, inside my, for Solana programs, I have an initialize instruction, and here are the array of accounts that it requires, and this is all specified in my program, as well as arguments for that. So for this escrow, the arguments, in addition to the accounts, I need an out amount and an in amount. I have some other instructions like accept, and then I have a cancel. Yeah, so just three kind of main instructions, and again, which accounts are needed and whatnot. So, but as I go around from program to program, I'm basically updating the Svelte workspace store to point to the correct IDL. So then it quickly gives me the correct program for my program. So program ID and stuff. So you have here's the name for voting app or mint polls. Changes that too. So anyway, so I'm working on escrows right now because I really would like to be able to exchange. So I'm glad that things are working. I was able to successfully initialize and accept and initialize and cancel. Now the UI is needs some work. But what I want eventually, I'll show an example, is in polls. This is the idea that you could create multiple polls. So if I say first for this program, because I want to be able to create multiple polls, I'm even allowing creating profiles, like a user profile, and then a profile a user can also create as many polls as they would like, in order to allow a user, and each poll is stored in a PDA. So the program has ownership of the poll. So I have to do create program. This is kind of like my app-wide Oh. Attempted to load a program that does not exist. Oh, it doesn't exist because currently, right now, my local test validator, I've only built and deployed my escrow. Because if I do anchor list, hang on, anchor, let's just look at anchor help. Oh, anchor keys list. So here are all these different, like, the program IDs for each of my custom programs. Yeah, but if I do Solana show dash programs, oh wait, let's see, Solana programs, oh, Solana program show programs, no, then it shows that I've got this one program running right now. So this polls it can't find, there's no program ID around that matches, you know, what I'm trying to pass here to, you know, create a new account inside this program. So that's the problem there. Anyway, my point is, if I explore the polls, let me do something. Actually, let's get rid of some stuff. I'm going to do, I think I call it multiple polls. Web. Yeah, let's try this. So we have programs state and custom. Let's do so like poll, for example. I want to be able to create multiple polls, and it's got like a but I'm having to kind of keep track of like a unique number, like, okay, this is poll number 2, now number 3, number 4, just kind of like as an ID, kind of like a, in a way, like a foreign key, I guess you could say, or a primary key for this. And if I go to custom program, to state custom program, let's do this one. Yeah, so at the highest level, so this program right here, I want to create an account, and it's got this structure. It's got an authority, and it's got like total profile count, total poll count, total vote count. Okay, not much to it, but just it's at a highest level, it's just kind of keeping track of these numbers. Now, profiles. A user must have a profile before they can create a poll. So we'll go to profile.rs. We see that it has this structure. Well, there's a profile number that I'm using as kind of like a unique identifier. So if the first user ever, they'll be profile number 1, and then number 2. I mean, this is very, very generic and basic, but it at least gives me something, a unique number or or field or value that I could use because I want to be able to use PDAs. So my profile has this. If I go to my instruction, what is it? The create, oops, profile, and move that over here. So what we have here is, using Anchor, we have a context called create profile, and this when we initialize it, when we initialize this profile account, following this profile struct, which is right here. It's got this shape. We have the init keyword, and we want to be able to give, we want to create this profile, and we want to store it into a PDA, okay? That way the program, my polls program, can kind of have ownership over it. But for a profile, like think about it, if I have this unique wallet, I don't want my user, I don't want someone with one wallet address to be able to create multiple profiles. I want to restrict them from creating multiple profiles. So what I've done is I made the seeds, so when they're trying to find the derived program address to store this account on chain, you can specify like, okay, give it some seeds to use, and it will also compute a bump and such to, you know, how PDAs work. I won't go into that, but basically, if a PDA is not derived on the first pass, then Solana will make it like basically go from starting at 255 for the bump, and just work its way down until it finds a public key address that does not associated with like a private key. So PDAs are really handy to store data, because then you can do things with these PDAs without needing or requiring the private key. Like the private key is like what you would have available in your wallet, you know, like a user's wallet. Like I can't even connect to I can't really do too much with my wallet without like a private key. But PDAs, so back to this, I don't want the users to create multiple ones. So at first I added like, okay, I've got the profile little prefix and then the wallet. I've called it the authority, but the connected wallet, that's actually trying to create this profile, which would be what's connected. Those two things would be added as the seeds for this PDA. So then we could always use the wallet address plus the prefix, and we would always be able, plus the bump, and always be able to later find that specific profile. But at first, I actually was using, I had this custom programs account and its total profile count plus one, just kind of like a simple incrementer, kind of like of an ID. But the problem is then that would allow, if I did use this, if I did add this seed, then the same wallet could basically create as many profile accounts as it would want. And I didn't want that to be the case. I wanted to restrict them to just one. So one wallet address to one profile account. So that's how I did that. However, now for votes though, I want the wallet to be able to create, I want this wallet, which creates the profile, I want this profile to be able to create multiple polls, you know, not just one poll. And this is kind of connected, this is connected to my escrow issue. Originally, following the docs for creating this basic escrow, it was just like a one-to-one, like you create an escrow and then you exchange or cancel. Like another user either accepts or the creator initializer cancels the escrow. But I'm trying to add it like, treat it like this polls, where a wallet can create multiple escrow accounts. In order to do that though, it needs unique seeds. So let me show what I've done for the to do that. So create poll. I go over here and I think, so this is what a poll looks like. A poll has an authority, so which wallet was the one that created it, and what number is this poll, just kind of like a unique number, which again, this is going to come from the high-level custom program account that I have that's keeping track of total poll numbers, total profile numbers, total vote count, those sorts of things. So it's using that number, and it's storing it inside the poll. So if I come over here to my actual instruction, I've got my create poll and such. We have, let me show you how I'm doing this. So this actually does allow creating multiple polls. So I have some notes from last time. Yeah, so here you'll see, so for a poll, to create a simple poll, I literally have some sort of prefix that I've defined, which is currently like nothing. It's just a, if you look here, it's poll. But over here, so it's passing poll, and then over here, I'm getting the custom program's total poll count +1, turning that into a string. So I have this like really, really basic seed plus the bump value that allows, later to retrieve that. Now, the cool thing about PDAs is that PDAs, it's okay if people have like seeds and bumps and all that, and they can find your PDA address. If they are, PDAs are great for reading. You can go read data from PDAs. Like anyone can do it. If you know the seeds and the bump for the PDA, then you can derive it. You can find that program address and then, read and parse. You can kind of read that data. That's great. However, you can't write. You can read only, but you can't write. So that means that if you actually want to update any of the data that is stored inside the PDA, then we need you got to be a little bit more. You need the seeds as well, and the. Well, hang on. You can't. Yeah, why? I'm trying to think. So, I know like PDAs, I'm trying to hang on. Again, I'm learning this stuff as we go. But, so PDAs you can read the data, but you can't write to the data unless you happen to have the correct authority. Yeah, I believe that's the case. Yeah. So. Yeah, you can read PDA account data, but you can't write unless you are the authority. But I'm not worried about like these poll accounts. I'm actually okay with they had the bump and the seeds. I want them to be able to hang on. So let's see. Do I use poll or custom? I believe I won't have access to poll number yet, since this means I should probably use custom. Yeah. Well, this what the good thing about this is that if by only putting in these seeds, it means that my connected wallet will be able to create multiple polls. So if I come over here, and for an example, let me go back over here. And this is running. Let me do anchor build program. What does it call this? Multiple. Forget what I called the program. Let's do, actually, let's do anchor keys list. What do we get? On chain. This is what I call it. On chain, multiple polls. All right, so now do anchor build key on chain, multiple polls, and then deploy it. Let's try it. Hopefully this doesn't break. It's been a while since I've used this, but I think I'm going to use this as an example of being able to create multiple escrows. I want to be able to, I want my wallets to be able to create multiple escrows. So yeah. So if I do create, like initialize, I need to create the, got a custom program. This is just built in stuff. So now I've built it. Here's the authority, which is my wallet, and it shows some data. Right now there's nothing to it. This is a PDA. All these are PDAs, which is the great thing about it, because now these PDAs are owned by this program, my on-chain, this on-chain program with this ID, pretty neat. So then, but the next step is I need to create a profile. I've got this like little, you can create a handle, like at newbie, and then display name, we'll call it newbie. I don't know, create profile. Let's see what happens. Nice, we're getting the approval. Profile creation exceeded. So now we have a profile store. I'm using, again, SvelteKit stores. And now I have a profile store. I'm just displaying some data for me. The authority is my wallet. It's got profile number 1. Oops, my handle. I didn't need to do that. Obviously, I need to work on my UI. But I have a handle, display name, count, poll count, vote count, and bumps. This is related to the PDA. And then I also store, as this is a custom store in SvelteKit, to keep track of the PDA address. This is just for me on the front end. Okay, so I have this route polls. So now I have this, I want to be able to do like, here's an example, dog versus cat, option A, option B, and I hit create poll. And we now have our first poll. Okay. Pretty neat so far. So we had this poll, and this is very, very basic. I'll do another one. Let's do like, I don't know, hot or mild. Create poll. Okay. So now, if we look, my profile is updating this on-chain data. Like this is for my store, for my UI, but this is we have this data where I've created 2 polls, but I haven't done any votes. Okay, and that is what, back to my program. Let's get rid of, where was I? Yeah, so that is that's what this is allowing here, this account. So in this create poll instruction here, all in this, like this create poll instruction, I basically am allowing, by specifying the 25 down, how I'm handling these seeds right here. This is important. Every poll account that I'm creating, as a PDA, I'm using just the poll prefix and a unique number. That's it. I don't, and I'm not adding the authority key, because what I want is I want other wallets, other users, other profiles to be able to log in and come to this site and see some of the existing polls that are available. So then they can, also create and even modify or write to this poll account. And poll account, like what would they be writing to? What sort of data would they be changing if they didn't create the poll? Well, what would they be changing would be they'd be voting, actually. So obviously they would go in and cast a vote, and it would impact these vote count values. Okay. So, yeah, that's kind of how this is working. So then I'll show you over here. We go into, just pick dog, cat, okay? When I'm using a SvelteKit routes, so this right here, you'll notice in the localhost 7G blah blah blah. Here's this string. This is the PDA. This is the matching PDA. So I'm using the PDA as the unique identifier for each route, for each unique poll. Okay. So this, here we are. We're still logged in with the same one that created it. It's got a unique poll number and stuff. But if I do cat, for example, and approve, now cat increments by 1, and I've got this ugly table right now, just kind of showing. Eventually I have kind of like a thinking of like displaying kind of like just a raw table of like the wallets that submitted a vote and their selection. Right now this is like the most basic votes, but then I'm working on kind of a UI of like, when a wallet comes to a particular route to a poll, on that load, it checks, has this wallet basically already voted or not. And so after I've casted that vote, it shows that I have. So then I've removed the buttons, but this would also, how I've designed the program is that they would not be able to cast multiple votes. Let me show you how the voting works, because it's all connected with seeds and PDAs. So this is the create poll. Let me just do create vote. I'll go to a new tab in Vim. And then let's do we'll do the state vote. Okay. So let's look at like what would this a vote account look like? Well, it's pretty basic stuff. It's literally who was the authority, so who placed the vote. The profile is keeping track of the custom profile. Remember, I made everyone create a profile before they can vote or do things. No, it's just an idea, but then you have the poll key, the poll pub key, which is basically it's the PDA of the poll, associated poll, and then the vote number. So like this is a number specific to this poll. Okay, and the vote option it's an enum, Rust enum, so allows them to basically, did they choose cat or dog? What was their selection? And then the bump, because it's used for, for the PDA to later find the PDA. Here's the vote options, literally A and B, very, very basic. But it's good practice for me. And I have all this stuff specifying the vote account and how to create a new one, okay? Now, back over here in our instruction, we have this create vote context. And let's first, it requires a create vote context, so I can jump down to it and see what we have. Again, we are initializing this vote account. So this aligns with, this is, it's got to kind of align with our structure here. And so I have the init keyword for anchor, specifying, that you are initializing this account for the first time, giving it space and whatnot. But now this is the seeds. Again, I don't want the same wallet to be able to vote on the same poll multiple times. Okay, so what I've done here is I've got the vote prefix, just something, a basic seed. It's just some text vote. But I'm also passing the poll key, so it's public address, which is this, so that's something unique. So it's a vote that's associated with this particular specific poll, as well as the wallet key. So now, if I were to do some sort of incrementer, like this is vote number, vote number or vote count +1 as an additional seed, then every vote would be unique. The seeds would be unique because you'd have vote number 1, all these other seeds plus vote number 1. Then another account would be created with all these seeds, then vote, number 2, and vote number 3, etc. So a same wallet, even if you put authority here, the same wallet would be able to vote multiple times for that poll. I did not want to, so I did not do any sort of like increment like that. I just left it to this. So every vote account, the PDA, its address has a seed, the poll seed, and the wallet seed. So if the same wallet tries to create a new fresh account, it can't create a new vote account PDA because these seeds are already used. Okay, so that's how you restrict it in this way. So this was a really good example for me to work through. Really just helped me kind of better understand PDAs and how you can use PDAs to, in essence, kind of create relationships between your accounts. So it's kind of like kind of basic relational database type of concept. And this goes purely to the idea and inspiration to get started came from a tutorial I'll share and leave in the comments below. But super, super helpful and good way to really introduce yourself and better understand how these PDA accounts can work and be used dynamically like this. So my next task is, it's a big one, but I think for my escrow, account for my escrow program over here. And I guess if I wanted to, I could like disconnect. I may lose some state for a second, but let me see if I can log into, 1 second, another screen. I'm gonna try to log in with my, my other dev wallet with Solflare. Yeah. And now it's connecting, extension, blah, blah, blah. It shows now I don't have a profile. And this profile isn't, so like but it's showing me the history of what has already happened with this particular poll. So if I go back, because this is development, I need to give myself some money. So if I go to the home page and hit airdrop, now I have some SOL to actually use and transact. And I'm going to go back to polls. Yeah. And shows some of the existing polls that are taking place or have happened. And that whole dog versus cat, see that it has 1 vote already. But again, how I've so if I come back and you see these are the existing polls that are, taking place. You'll see the dog versus cat. It has 1 total vote already. But how I've designed this program is that the wallet first needs to create a profile before it can do any sort of creating polls or voting. So let me real quickly, now that I've got some SOL in there, I'll do this is I don't know, this is the second user. I don't know. Second, I'm gonna create a profile, and it's gonna deduct because I'm creating this new profile account. PDA takes a little bit of money for storing the data, blah, 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 blah. And now, get rid of that notification, we have some data to work with, yeah? We now have a profile, and the authority is the wallet. The number, this is the second, number 2, it's the second profile to be created in our program. And again, I have this custom program that's kind of keeping track of all this stuff at a high level, poll counts, vote counts, and such. This is, but yeah. So now that I have here, I've also built in like a little handy search. This is pure Svelte, but if I do like CA, or MI, you can imagine it'd be nice to kind of quickly search or paginate through some of these. But if you click on this particular poll, you'll see that this is my profile. This poll has it's number 1. Here are the very details of the poll itself. It only has 1 vote, and here's the tally. This profile has voted equals false. Yeah, so let's do dog, and it's gonna take a little bit of money to transact and create the vote account, which is again a PDA. And now, ta-da, we have 2 solid votes, and I've already voted with this wallet. This toggle to true. Obviously, I got to work through the UI and stuff, but this is working fairly well, and it's taking advantage of SvelteKit routes, and I'm using the PDA as the dynamic identifier for each route. And again, yeah, like vote count now is 2 for this, and pretty cool. So I'm gonna go back, and I'll go to hot versus mild, and I'll just vote for hot. And now, this poll has some data. It has a new vote for option A, and yeah, not bad. It's already voted. So that's that. That's polls. This is how I've kind of stopped at this point. Plenty more to do. I think UI obviously could get improved naturally, but for the most part, like bulk of the functionality is there and created. I just need to, yeah, just kind of do some cleaning up. I could paginate some of this stuff and add some stuff about like tracking kind of overall polls and votes and maybe a little bit of like charts or something. But yeah, felt pretty good. Like I said, this was a really good activity on learning about PDAs and associating PDAs with other accounts. Because again, this vote account, when we look at it, it has a profile ID. So this is specific to the user who casted and created this vote, which is the wallet. It also has a unique poll PDA or a pub key, which is equivalent, or which is the specific polls PDA address anyway. So itself. So again, how this, you're kind of building these relations between all these various PDA accounts. It's a really, I think this is, my understanding is kind of one of the real big key understandings for developing on Solana. So hopefully this was helpful. And yeah, any comments or suggestions, if you have any feedback from what you've noticed in this short little bit, I'm all ears. Obviously, I'm trying to work through and learn this stuff as best as I can. You know, I am not an experienced developer. I'm an enthusiast. I have interest in this stuff, but this is all pretty much self-taught, you know, following some tutorials and slowly doing the grind. Things that I like in general is that I love NeoVim. I enjoy the experience. So you'll see me learning and struggling with that as well. So if you're a NeoVim fan or whatever and you notice some rookie mistakes, let me know. As well as same with SvelteKit and Rust, like all of this stuff, it's quite a lot, not gonna lie, to kind of keep track of. But yeah, trying to stick with SvelteKit, I think it's pretty easy and for the most part makes sense to me. So you know, just something to do. So I hope this was helpful, and yeah, next part, what we'll have to do is try to maybe really revamp our escrow program to add to allow the user to create multiple escrow accounts and add some SvelteKit routing in the process. So just like this polls, a user can, you know, create escrow accounts and then head over and, you know, exchange based off that. So much to do. But a lot of it's already built up because I've got each escrow that I create is a PDA. Just right now, I can only create one because I don't have any other unique seed that I could pass for the given wallet. I can't really think of any other way to do it except for maybe kind of copying a little bit of how I've done this polls and profiles and votes kind of relationship. So stay tuned.